back to the series of Captain Stable's interviews for this year. We are heading towards the finals again, live in Hong Kong in November. And I'm delighted to be joined by Sammy from Clearbot. Sammy, for all of you who will remember last year, won our prize. And Sammy, lovely to see you. And welcome to the first of our interviews. Maybe tell our viewers a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, so honored to be here, Chris. Thank you for allowing me to be here again. So essentially, I represent Clearbot, and at Clearbot, we build electric autonomous boats, right? And we were essentially inspired by the pollution problem that we have in most of our marine systems, and that's kind of how we built this solution. But given that we've already made so much progress, we wanted to see how we can adapt this solution to also transition existing boats to more sustainable ways of running them, right? So since we're completely electric, we figured we're the best proof of concept. With Captain Stable, the reason that I initially applied was because we are a bunch of engineers who are just trying to make a solution, right? But we didn't have the connections within that industry to actually see if the solution would be something that would be usable, right? And that validation from that market, right? And because that industry can be hard to penetrate, it was really useful for us to just enter Captain Stable because of your expertise in that area. So yeah, that's a little bit more about Clearbot itself and why I decided to join Captain Stable.
Fantastic. And Sammy, thank you. And, well, obviously we've been chatting offline today and previously. Business is going well. Just tell me a little bit maybe about where the bots are deployed at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment we have around 13 bots in different areas. We're actually planning for a launch of our new boat sometime in October as well, right? Which is much larger than our existing machine. At the moment, we have around 8 of these bots in Hong Kong, and we're also present in India. And recently, we've actually done a couple of very successful demos in pollution recovery side of things, right? But the intention with kind of upgrading to this newer bot is to be able to also do, for example, goods delivery, ship to shore deliveries, etc., right? Where volume might also be an issue, and our existing bot is a bit small, even though it can pull a lot of weight. So that's kind of what we have been able to do. And as a result of Captain Stable, we got all of our bots insured, which was a 3-year-long struggle for us. So that is a great win for us. And we also were able to work with like industry leaders like Lloyd's, for example, to get kind of a vote of confidence. And I think over the next year or two, we'll be going to through extensive kind of assessments from them as well, which speaks to our seaworthiness and the viability of our technology in these different spaces that we're trying to enter, all thanks to Captain Stable.
And that's fantastic to hear. Thank you. You've alluded to sort of some of the reasons that you sort of were interested in applying for Captain Stable. Maybe just build on that a little bit for me.
Right. So initially, again, we started this problem. We started addressing this problem mostly because we saw a lot of pollution, right? And as a bunch of students who wanted to solve that issue, we tried to build our own solution because people are still using like diesel-powered boats, etc. Right? And the more we got into that kind of spectrum, we realized that we can actually improve these boats to be able to do much more than just pollution, right? Whether that is surveillance, whether that's goods delivery, and hopefully eventually also build bigger boats that are able to transition to a more sustainable boat infrastructure in general, right? And for us, as I said, it was more about the connections, right? For us, for example, insurance was a very big issue because our product was a novel product. And as a result, most traditional insurers were like, oh, we've never seen this before. We don't even know what the risk might be because it's also autonomous, right? So they're like, we don't know how it's going to crash into things. So we needed essentially someone to help us navigate these difficult areas, right? Where there's not a lot of familiarity. That we can provide being a new innovation and trying to do things differently, right? So for us, Captain Stable was like a very helpful stepping stone where we are able to meet the people that are already existing in that space, and also kind of get their feedback as to what would be useful to integrate into our systems, etc., and build those relationships. And for me personally, it was also very helpful because usually when I go into these pitching competitions, is basically us being pushed into a stage and you just pitch, right? With Captain
Yeah.
Stable, I had a very different experience, which I was very surprised by. We got a lot of training, a lot of support, and at the end of it, even the people that we were competing with became the best of friends. Actually, we went karaokeing after, which is really unique, and I've never done that with people I was competing with. So yeah, I kind of took a lot of friends away from that experience as well, which is very encouraging on a personal growth level as well.
Mm.
So yeah, that's kind of why I joined Captain's Table. But what I took away from it was kind of unexpected, but really great.
Brilliant. That's such good news. I remember the finals well. I didn't come to the karaoke, but I've heard stories, so that's enough to say. Look, obviously the finals themselves, we had that fantastic auditorium, and we went through everybody's presentations. Just tell me about the emotions and then obviously being named the winner last year.
Right. So for me, actually, I had a vested interest in everybody winning because I had seen from the start where everyone started off, right? And we were kind of a part of the process in terms of feedback in the few days preceding to it.
Hmm.
So for me, it was much less nerve-wracking because I was just rooting for everyone because I was like, oh, this person has gone from this point to this point, right? So it kind of took the pressure off, and I knew that
Yeah.
everyone was rooting for me as well, right? Which was very encouraging, especially for a pitching competition where essentially you're supposed to fight with each other, and we really were not.
Yeah.
And it was also really encouraging because we met all of the judges prior to the event as well. So that also helped us feel more comfortable in that space, in speaking to them and in understanding what exactly they'd like to hear in a pitch,
Mm.
right? Because all of these people came from different kind of point of views, and it was really interesting to see what kind of questions would be interesting to answer during a pitch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is very different to what I came to the pitch thinking to say, you know. So that was really encouraging for me as well. I didn't expect to win just because everyone else is so good.
Right.
Um, there are some people that truly surprised me, but yeah, it was really fun. Like regardless of whether I won or not.
Fantastic. And look, just since January, because it seems like we were, 2022 merged a little bit into the beginning of 23. So since January, tell me what's happened and how the Captain Sables helped you.
So since January, again, the biggest win for us has been getting all of our boats insured because
Yeah.
that was a very big obstacle in terms of getting into public waterways, etc. Right? That's the first question anyone ever asks us, and also getting started in the process of getting our boats licensed, right? Because most of the times the reason that our adoption is slow is because people are like, "You're so new. How can we make sure that you're not going to cause any trouble for us if we do
Hmm.
adopt your solution?" Right? And those were the two important things that Captain Stable really helped us with. And with the kind of support we got from HFW, for example, we were able to navigate all of these legalities and all of these things that I would never know. In a much more well-informed way, right? And go into these discussions with an opinion. So that was really helpful as well. And I've still constantly been in touch with you, for example, Chris, and also the organizers, Suyin, Tabitha, and etc. And that has also been really fun to learn about all of the other startups as well, to meet them when we go to Singapore, and it's just been fun.
Good, good. Look, that's fantastic to hear. I've got one final question for you, Sammy, if I may. Looking back and sort of looking forward, we're heading into this year's competition and the finals. Applications close shortly. What
Right.
advice would you give to anybody looking to break into the maritime sector and thinking about where is the best place to start?
I think feedback. I think anybody you can. I think a network is really important in that space, just because there's a lot of, again, legalities that you have to jump through because there's a lot of risk when you are trying to propose something new.
Yeah.
And this is from a bias point of view because we have a hardware product which just makes things monumentally more difficult, right? So it is really important to get to a space where you can get other people's feedback who are already in the system and for increasing adoption within a space, it really helps to not reinvent the wheel, but fit into the wheel that already exists. So in that way, just that feedback is really important, right? And for me, that was the most useful part, being able to speak to different people and understand what questions they had, what were we not clear about, what are some things that we haven't considered yet, and so I would just say, whether you win or not, just join, because you'll still get something away from it.
Brilliant. Sammy, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate how busy things are. So I really do appreciate you taking the time just to sit back and reflect on the journey of the last 12 months. I suspect whether it feels longer or shorter than that, it's brilliant to see you again. And look, I look forward to seeing you hopefully at the finals this year when we come back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And for now, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you.